Okay.
Okay, sorry, my camera is broken.
I'm
I'm
Zhao.
Zhao.
Okay, it's very good, nice to meet you. And so we can kickstart today's sharing and Braindate. So the agenda of today is maybe Zhao Wenqi, what's your name? Zhao Wenqi, you can share your the first chapter firstly, and then is me and all.
I'm the first chapter.
Oh, you are the first chapter.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
thank
the
you. And
first
you
chapter.
can okay, you can maybe Lilian, you can share your first chapter, and then is me, and also next is Cam, and the last one is for you. And when we end of each sharing for each other, and we can together to discuss about the case study and to have some discussion with this case. And so firstly, you can, Lilian, you can do your sharing
Liana,
firstly.
yeah.
Liliana, you can do your sharing firstly. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So the section I read focus on maybe it's kind of like the selections because we are in the collection management and we focus on it's kind of the period like select how to selection the collections like means to select some books, and this is aspect of library collection buildings in which it described how librarians faced with a vast area of the information resources and can identify and filter and judge which materials are worthy of the inclusion in this kind of the collections. So firstly, the background and the purpose of the need for selection in a new area are introduced. And then it say the process of the selection is described, which can be interpreted as a categorization of the materials. And there are some different distinctions in this kind of area. And the process of the selection and its practical steps then form the basis for decision making in the traditional sense of the librarian lead procurement. Can I say that? Yeah. So this is followed by an in-depth discussion in these challenges of acquiring government publications and grey literatures. So these documents, despite their high information value, are often difficult to obtain through the mainstream publishing channels, thus placing some greater demands of the librarian's initiative, professional judgment, and external collaboration skills. In addition, this chapter also in the beginning will make a clear distinction between the evolution and which will emphasize the quality of the literature itself and assessment, which stresses its applicability to specific some user groups, and also will list a number of the evaluation criteria such as the this content, the clarify of the language, and the timeliness of the literature, whether it has been widely cited and whether it is easy to use, something like that. And we'll embarrassing the multi-dimensional considerations in the selection process. So that's all. This is my part summary.
Okay, so let's do my summary of my part. My part is mainly focusing on the evaluation and assessing the potential selection for the collection development. And there are some key points. The first one is evaluation. Is maybe focusing on the qualities such as the content, currency, authority, and the writing style, a scope, accuracy, or physical qualities, and the cost effectiveness. Specialized criteria existing for the format such like the picture, books on or and the paper also also high also introduce the evaluation e-resources as a very important part because the requiring considering additional criteria like the business model, licensing terms, ease of the authentication, and the completeness. And it's very important because more and more resources is coming up, and we have to fix this issue during the evaluation of the e-resources, and also have some several and continual resources. This part is may involve ongoing financial committee and the consideration of index and potential preference for print in some areas, the risk of the journal, and the critical issue of My Zoom is just the networking status is okay.
No, it's fine.
It's fine. Okay. So since today's networking is not so good and okay, sorry for the interruption. And the final one is shall be the assessment. Consider the item is maybe related to the local usage, system complexity, libraries commission, and the curriculum support is more and more important during the assessment. So that's all of my summary. And we need to discuss about the reflection. No need to just the summary is good enough, right? Yeah. Okay.
I think the reflections maybe in the next.
Okay. So okay. Yeah.
And for my part, I summarize my part into 5 points. In the first point, it is about the PDA model, which means the library let the user choose what book to buy. When the user view and download something, the library may buy it. Sometimes the library buys the ebook after they are used a few times. So the library will create a list of the possible books, which called consideration pool, and set the rules and like the price limits. For the second point is about the diverse collections. Libraries must include books for all type of the people, like different religions, ages, genders, abilities, and more. So, but when they find the books about the majority group, which is hard because the publisher didn't make enough for them. So, the third point is about the buying decision. The librarians usually decide what to buy by checking if the book is useful and fits for the library goals. They cannot buy anything. So because and then many books are left out, which called the empty collection. For the fourth points is about the ordering materials. Buying books means ordering, receiving, and processing the books. For the ebooks, libraries need the contract and license. Many libraries will team up with other libraries to buy the e-resources. Some special software like ERM systems will help them to check the ebooks and license. And my fifth point is about the choosing the suppliers. So the libraries will buy books from the publisher or the online platforms. So they may help them to order books or offer them some discounts and then handle the payment. So some may focusing on some specific topics or languages. This is all my part. Thank you.
Okay. For my part, this part introduced the summary of library producement models. First is approval plan. Suppliers proactively push new populations based on the library's determined collection standards such as themes, formats, price, accompanied by a return right at 2%. Advantage about that is required stimulations of ebooks and printed versions to ensure consistency in inventory, and challenges homogenization of collections and neglecting small publishers or interdisciplinary resources. And for package purchase, it means sign an agreement with the publisher to obtain all or part of their publications at a fixed price, are usually non-returnable. It has developed to include electronic data interchange, and the advantage about that is simplified transactions with journal publishers, benefits of discount and faster delivery. Challenges consuming a large budget and screen other resources for precision. Publisher direct sales libraries directly purchase publishers' electronic journal package or ebooks. Advantage is high contract flexibility and possible fewer DRM restrictions. Challenges limited coverage of resources by a single publisher. And aggregator is a third party provide online access to journals, articles, and books published by multiple publishers and offer unified researchers such as EBSCO, GSTOR. Advantages simplify contract management, provide MARC records, and use statistics. Challenges unable content public and some resources have time delivery or missing content. And for the retails purchase directly from retail such as Amazon during emergency purchases. The challenge is tax and fee issues during transactions. And for free digital resources, journals, and monographies provide in an open access mode as screened catalogs and managed by the library and purchased based on their relevance and availability, such as DOAJ, DOAB. That's all my summary.
Thanks for your summary, and maybe we can discuss about the reflection, right? And maybe Lilian, you can start about your part. Reflection, yeah.
Well, I have to open the, okay. So I think one of the things very interesting because I have read the beginning of this kind of the chapter, and when I read my part, I find something that it just focus on very traditional pattern of the selecting the collections. But I heard Ken had just said before, and maybe his part is focused on some PDA, which is well mentioned in the chapter 2. And so my reflection have some connection with that. I think well, this kind of the PDA and in just in time model and this approach, in my opinion, will relate it to my part, kind of like the ILLRM called interlibrary loan recommendation mechanism. And this is well mentioned in this chapter, and which in fact can be regarded as a kind of like the passive PDA. And it can be regarded as a kind of like this response judgment of the library acquisition system will trigger by the user's repeated request by borrowing or retrieving a certain title. Well, I think it's very interesting because I found some connections between you and me. Yeah.
Okay, it's very good, and thanks for your sharing. And as for my part, maybe more and more will be most focused on the evaluation, and specifically is focusing on the e-resources evaluation. So when we do the evaluation of e-resources, the technical and the function variability has become one of the most critical considerations. Therefore, overall assessment of this operation aspect is important to make sure any either resources we select is not only useful for our community, but also we need to integrate into our existing library digital e-commerce system. It's very important because it's maybe including the ease of the authentication, platform stability, and usability compatible with the mobile device and the essential software like some course management especially for the academic library. We are using some citation tools we need to evaluate these tools and how to use these resources, e-resources, and the availability of the reliable usage data for future decision making is also very important. So also, we need to consider vendor support and responsive are very key factor because they will significantly impact the library's ability to offer the consistent service for us. So maybe how to evaluating the e-resources is very important and will be more and more important in the future as an understanding. So it's my part, and maybe you can continue your part. Yeah, thank you for that.
My reflection is also about the PDA model, and I am quite interested in this model and would like to know if this PDA model is suitable in any kind of the context and library, or it is only suitable for the specific libraries. I'm trying to put this model, imagine this model, and will be work in the secondary, will be work in the secondary school or not. So, and then I put this into the secondary school context and see the advantages and disadvantages. For the advantages, I think the PDA seems allow the student and the teacher will to help them to check the library connection, and this also ensure the resources are directly relevant to their needs. And it also provides some access to more resources like ebook, let the student to explore different kind of the topic that interest them. And also this PDA model matches the student-centered learning approach by supporting independent exploration and the personalized education. But for the disadvantages part, I think the student may not have the maturity or the critical thinking skill to select the appropriate and the high quality resources. So this could result in adding some irrelevant or some poor quality materials to the library. And also the PDA seems relies on the active reader who seek out the e-learning resource and the materials. But in the secondary school, the e-reading is still not very common. So which may also limit the impact of the PDA in the secondary school context. This is all my part. My reflections.
Thank you, and maybe Zhao Wenqi, you can share your part.
Okay, for my reflection, the procurement model of library resources is flashing from traditional planning to printing to digitalization and customer customization, while approval plans and about orders are improving efficiency. They also face problems such as homogenization and budget rigidity. Open access and aggregator resources also enriching the collection bring challenge to content stability. I believe that under the drive of technology, libraries need to find a dynamic balance between the breadth and the depth of the resource recovery, receivement cost, and actual benefits. They should also immerse the trend of digitalization while also being aware of the potential loss of collection diversity and weakened autonomy, while autonomy that may result from excessive reliance on commercial solutions. Thank you.
Thank you for all of you guys sharing, and maybe we can have a discussion about the case study in the final. And so let me brief the case firstly. The director of the library facing a significant decision regarding the donation of professor personal collection is over whiling from a pace and so maybe let me just brief the pace. The professor wanted to donation his personal offered her collection of personal paper and article. And the 70 books and the boxes and the estimate around 100 linear meter comes with specific condition. It must be non-cumulation calculation, right? And housed in a separated place with identified Dr. Malamala's collection within the library. So what do you think about the advantage of accepting this collection or the disadvantage of accepting this collection? So maybe you can share your ideas. We can accept it or not, or the disadvantage. I think I can just put on one advantage because its donation is have some potential research value. It's because it's come from academic professor, and also it's we can keep the relationship with a donation relationship with the professor, and also it's a we can regarding as it's a unique holding. If just because from one to one, and we can hold something very specific and it's unique from the personal something like that. Yeah, the personal drafts and the papers. Yeah, yeah, it's very personal. So how do you think about the I just brief some advantage, but how do you think about the disadvantage?
So sorry. So I think the disadvantage, well, it has some space constraints because the collection is really huge or the large scales, and you know, in the libraries it's really limited, the space limitation. And especially in Hong Kong. So I think it's kind of like one disadvantage when you just you want to share all of your personal papers into the donated to the library. It's kind of like unavailable about that. Yeah, and also I just posted one. So do you have any ideas or?
I'm thinking in long term that because if the library is the academic library in the university, and then every year or every few years there are quite a lot of professors will be retired, and then they may donate their collections, and then if we decide to visit those of the collection of his professor, we will think about that what another professor will donate their collection, and will we visit as well or not? Or I think we need to have a policy, or even we visit, and what kind of book we will going to keep it in our library, what kind of book not, and then it will be quite important.
Well, it's basically you have safe to say it's needs to have a connection means the selection, like the chapter has said before, is because it have some standard to select the books, because you have to focus on the theme of the library, like an academic library, like a special library. The theme is really important. For this kind of the libraries, it doesn't have really this area about this subject of this profession that want to donate it. So I think for the staff in the library, they don't have any the skills or the experiences to handle all of this kind of professional subjects of that. I think this is one of the major advantages or the challenges they may face.
So
Wow.
I think that the voluntary donation
You can stop the recording. Thank you.